And the stupid raccoon was flexing on me like a kangaroo.
He was big, yeah.
He was big. He was like ready to fight.
I have a different opinion on this.
Ooh, what is that? Hello, friends. My name is Wilson.
I'm Cass.
Welcome back to another episode of Two Kids and a Startup, where we talk about our lessons learned through raising two kids while building a startup and our life.
So with our life, what's happening with our life? We wrapped up the summer this year.
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. So the last week of summer, we intentionally took some time off. Not intentionally, we were coerced to by schools. But yeah, we had the last week off and we didn't really have too much of a plan, but we knew we wanted to spend some family time before the new school year starts and we get going with the September mentality. So,
well, originally we booked a 6-day trip to Kelowna.
Yes.
Because of the forest fire, we kind of had to cancel on that.
Yeah.
And
they didn't give us a refund. How rude.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. Damn. Sad times. But yeah, so you know what? We actually made the best out of the last bits of summer. In a way, we were quite tired and quite going at it for the last 2 months, preparing for the launch of our application, the Fun Pass, and then turning into the corner of your pitch, and then right into our VIP experience.
And then no childcare for a week, which means what are we going to do with the kids?
Yeah. And something that I've always really enjoyed is going camping with you guys. And we actually made it work. Just 4 days of planning, or
I don't even think 4 days. You told me on Tuesday that we're going to go camping and we talked about it on Tuesday and we packed our bags on Thursday to go. And it was a lot. Camping is so hard and we're not campers, so things aren't very practical for us. We don't have that many tools.
No. We're definitely campers.
Not when you're using a blanket, a pillow.
No. We're
our kitchenware.
No, we're campers.
Our knives.
We've been camping for, I would say, last 2-3 years. Actually, 2 years, 2-3 years, something like that. And you actually bought me a 4-person tent. Mm-hmm. And so we've been going with Jordy, and this is actually our first time going with Weston.
Yeah,
and we actually went to Squamish. This is a private camp site called
Kalani
campsite, and we didn't realize actually how much we needed it until we were there. It was like a complete change in lens.
Yeah.
And once we arrived, we were like, oh, we can breathe again.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful because I think now when we're at home and then when we come to the office, it's just like a concrete jungle. And then after being in Hawaii for 2 months where we were just always in nature and greenery, going into the campsite where we were just surrounded by trees. And then we had our own personal stream behind us with it was so beautiful. And it was like, this is so nice. Then your mind just had to reset, even if you didn't want to.
Yeah.
I would highly encourage it.
Totally. Even though we just went for a day and packing was equally took as much time as the actual camp. It was a really great experience. And actually, funny story, there was a raccoon that was circling us towards the end of the night.
Oh my gosh. So camping is really fun until it gets dark because you don't know what animals are around you. There's just, I don't know, for me, I'm a little bit scared of the dark. And then when we're all around there was no campfire.
Yeah.
So we also had to have a hot pot. What are those called?
Stove.
A stove, and we put it in the middle of the campfire, and that was our fire where we toasted marshmallows.
That was great.
But jumping back into the story, there's just darkness, and then I remember what you, I was roasting a marshmallow and there was a bit of light and Wilson goes, don't be scared. Don't turn around. You're fine. But there's something walking close to you. And in my mind, I'm like, who in the right mind would say any of those words and expect you not to be scared? And then the funny thing was, I saw the silhouette on when you were talking to me. I actually saw the silhouette of the raccoon coming. And I didn't even know it was a raccoon, but I knew it wasn't that big.
He was literally just walking right behind you. And I'm like, yo, I don't want to provoke him because like he could have just like jumped on you on your back if you were like moving and whatnot. So I'm like, you know what? Just don't move because you don't want to get rabies. That's no good. And then he walked away. And then right after he went to the other campsite, we thought that was end all and be all. And then within like 5 minutes, I see another shadow kind of like just sneaking by, and I see the raccoon right outside our tent where Jordy and Weston is. I'm like, oh my goodness, this guy's gonna go in our tent.
I know. And the only thing we did was shine a light. Like that's gonna do anything.
We were prepared, okay? And then so we walked up to the raccoon all the way up until like we were probably like 2-3 feet apart, like actually from this distance. And the stupid raccoon was flexing on me like a kangaroo.
He was big, yeah.
He was big. He was like ready to fight. And he was like just flexing in front of me, showing who's boss. And I'm like, rah. And then Vivian and Cass was right behind us. And we're trying to like act big and be like, rah. And we were at that for like a good like 2-3 minutes with it.
Yeah.
And he was still not running away. I'm like, wow, these raccoons know what's up.
They're trained to steal our food. But you know what? I would much prefer a raccoon over a bear. So I'm happy.
Yeah, totally.
But the morning after was really nice. When you wake, the best time in camping is when you wake up in the morning and you just see, and it's like the scene that you wake up to.
It's a little bit cold, a little bit chilly.
We did a cold dip.
Oh, yeah.
We tried to do a cold plunge, but the stream was like 1 inch above the water. Yeah. And so we just lied there. We had the kids and they were playing with rocks. I don't know if it was super safe, but we ended up lying there and tried to cold dip our back.
That was fun. It was so comfortable. The feeling of a cup of hot coffee in the morning after you wake up and just looking out in the wild and nature is so beautiful, so calming, so relaxing, and it was beautiful. And it's really cool. When I was talking to Jordy, I'm like, yo, Jordy, do you like camping? And she's like, yeah, I love camping. I still remember when I was a baby and you and mommy brought me to camping when I was a baby like Westy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you remember. Mm-hmm. She's only 4. Mm-hmm. And I thought that the moments that we've created, like when she was like 2 or 3, 1 or 2, mm-hmm. something like that, she wouldn't recall. The fact that she can now verbalize her memory was pretty cool. Yeah. Now, aside from camping, we came back and just really try to soak up the last bits of summer. We went to the water park. I think the beautiful thing about us is that we're not afraid to go out or like not afraid to like be out and about. Is that what it is? Even though it does require a lot more effort. Right, because we have to pack again, unpack everything, and then we have to like pack to go to the splash park.
It's not easy.
Not easy at
but
all.
We do try for the kids,
Yeah.
which is why we last minute planned a summer barbecue. Oh my gosh, that was really fun. But I also just remembered about the complaint letter that we had. So we had a summer barbecue and planned it last minute. We did it kind of old school Chinese style where it's on the silver stove and
Trench.
it's
a silver
tray, and you dump coal in it and you light the coal and you're cooking it by skewers. It is the most inefficient way to barbecue. Like you barbecue 1 chicken wing, per every 20 minutes, and you have an 80% burn rate likely on your chicken.
And 100% raw rate.
Yes, but it's very fun because everyone's sitting around it and you're just like chatting. It's very hot, so it's really fun that way. So we had maybe like 20 to 30 people in our shared backyard across our complex, and it was fun. Then we went inside to our place and we had some drinks. Our friends started doing karaoke at like past midnight. And it was all good until just the 2 days ago, I get a letter on the door. And it was a very kind letter. It was typed. There was a lot of effort. It was 3 paragraphs, but the content of the letter was saying basically, it was in a really nice way. They basically said we were a little bit loud, but in a nice way. They were like,
and our friends were smoking and it got sucked into the
their
HVAC and stuff like that.
And that we were being loud and saying they wanted to join in, but unfortunately they had work at 7 a.m. But your karaoke sounded like a blast. The way he put it was just
it's so good.
Was just so funny in a really nice way.
It's like the best complaint letter ever, and it made me feel so bad because it was all just accurate, the way that he was describing how everything went down and the disturbance that it had on him. But he was just being so nice. Like I'm very happy about that, and it was good. He was
nice. He's a new neighbor.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that the next day we saw him again and was able to express our remorse.
Yeah, we gotta save those neighbors because not all of them love us right now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, it was definitely work to fit everything in within the last bits of summer, you know, going camping, splash park, and then more barbecue, and then your family came, and then just all these long nights, which is amazing, just creating a lot of memories together. But yeah,
and then back to school preparing, which is always fun. It's fun for the kids. So Jordan's also starting a new school year. She's starting junior kindergarten, and Weston is fully jumping back into the school year as well. But preparing for the 2 kids and all the requirements that the teachers need. Our school is strict. I feel they make me feel like sometimes I just don't have it. Like they're like, why don't you have sunscreen? I'm like, I'm sorry, I will come get it tomorrow. And when I forget, they're like, you still haven't brought the sunscreen, and they make me feel guilty about it. So today,
you feel guilty?
Yeah, I do. Because I feel like it's not like, give me a break. You know, like if it doesn't work, I think it's how they show up. They're not doing it in a very understanding way. They're like, I need the sunscreen that you don't have, and I need these clothes, and she can't bring this stuffy toy. And I feel for her. I'm like, she just wants her stuffy toy. The class upstairs let her bring her stuffy toy. Not that that's right, but you know, it's her first time in this new class and new grade and new teachers, that some comfort, and I feel like some give and take would be nice. So
it's just a delivery.
Yeah, it's their delivery for sure.
How do you deal with it? Because you take it like a champ. It's not like you have mom guilt where you're like, oh man, I suck as a mother.
I'm a little bit spiteful sometimes, but that's in the moment. And then what do you
mean what do you do when you're spiteful? What do you mean by that?
Not spiteful, sorry. It's just, I don't feel like I'm giving a good energy back to them because they're kind of putting me on the defense. Hey, do this. You're missing this. Like, why don't you have this? I'm like, well, give me some time. You've asked for me yesterday. I can't run around everywhere just to get this one sunscreen that you need. But today when I thought about it, when I was driving, I actually went back to go get the sunscreen because the guilt that they made me sink and live in. But anyway.
It's good that you don't let that guilt define the type of parent you are. Because I feel like a lot
no.
of parents would feel like that they're not adequate because they're not living up to par.
Yeah.
Per se.
And that's why I'm saying it's not really fair for teachers. I'm not saying not fair for teachers. I'm sorry. I am saying it's if a little, like maybe your approach can come from more of a place of understanding, empathy for a parent is always better than demanding things that,
You
for
wouldn't
mini
know
stuff.
unless you're a parent either.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have that feeling at all.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a parent, and it would just come off as like, oh, by the way, get sunscreen. It's so simple, right? But then how it lands and how people feel about it, is important. But I'm glad that you're able to take it like a champ. Do you have any tips on how?
No.
No.
I think with one,
So much for tuning in, guys. Get out of here.
with one kid is easy, but with two kids, I feel like I'm not as definitely on it. If the difference was quite big. And even Weston's indoor shoes.
Yeah.
It's like I'm supposed to bring one since July, but I haven't. It's kind of tight, but yeah, I think I look at what is going to really move the needle.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, these shoes work. I think it's fine out of the million things that we have to do.
So the lesson to take away is choose your battles.
Choose your battles. Yeah.
Don't sweat over every single little thing, and just take it easy. Yeah. And just roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that about you.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Now that we're done with back to school, can we get back to work?
I know you've been craving for work.
It's not like I've been craving for work. It's like when you work for yourself, like you can't just stop and take a break for too long. But nonetheless, we just had our first pitch to a VC that manages $100 million fund that you met at the F3 competition.
Yeah.
And we were able to have a trial run on our newest deck. Tell us how it went.
So we, just a bit of a context here, we actually wanted to redo the deck for her. This was the first pitch that we did after the F3. And of course, that deck was for a competition. This deck was really for an investor. So we spent the time to actually go through all the details and prep for it this time. The meeting went well. My perspective was it was great because there was a lot of lessons that I took away to tweak our pitch even more. How did you feel? Because I feel like you took it a little bit differently.
I mean, I get it. I take no's all the time. I think that's just part of the job for the last, how many years. You just keep taking no's. It doesn't make it any easier, especially when you put your heart, blood, sweat, tears, everything into it and expecting to hear something that is a validation to what you've been working on for so long. And when there's a gap in that, you take it personal. I took it personal.
Yeah. So she said no. No, because there was the product market fit of who we were targeting and what we were seeing was disconnected.
Yeah.
And that was a really good learning because we kind of have an inkling, but it just validated it. And now we've totally fixed it and tweaked it. And in that way, I feel like everything is more buttoned up, and the more buttoned up we are, the better we can present ourselves forward. And it's the first time me and you really did it together in this new round, because technically this is our second round that we're gearing up for.
Yeah, by the way, I 100% agree with you. The best thing that any person or VC can give you is their honest, candid feedback. Number one, like actionable things to fix and tweak what they see. And the second of all, to tell you a very clear yes or no and not a maybe so. Because if last time when I was doing fundraising, the worst thing that can happen is when someone tells you that they're very interested, let's go ahead, but they kind of ghost you.
It's like a date.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you're kind of seeing someone and they're like egging you on a little bit. Not egging you on, but they're not saying yes or no. But then you're so excited. You want to see this person. They just don't want to see you, but you don't know that.
Man, you're speaking from experience.
Well, not much experience considering we've been together for 30 years.
No, Jesus. But nonetheless, it's great. Like I think it was amazing because when you're pitching VCs, usually in a cycle, you pitch around like what 100 plus VCs, and so your job is to really hear what's happening and how you can improve and to differentiate the noise from the signal. It's like, hey, what is this feedback good? Is this feedback not good? Remember all the time, every time I have a VC meet, I always come back to you. I'm like, oh, that sucked. We have to rework everything. And I change the entire strategy again. Not entire strategy, I change everything again. And then after another meet, I'm like, oh, this sucks. Let's change it again. And I just keep changing things. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned working with you on this deck is to have that spend a lot more time rather into identifying and having clarity on our product and making sure everything is super aligned. And having that clarity is just so much better for us to go to market with. Because
I was going to say, good job in acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, yeah, you almost got carried away with this revision as well. So when we got that feedback, Wilson was ready to change our demographic up. But we decided to stay focused a little bit more.
Totally. I think like part of my strength is my ability to work really fast and just go to market and like boom, boom, boom. And I was able to attain.
You're agile.
And super agile. I'm like, okay, I listen, I take the feedback and I move right away. And I think that is a really big, a double-edged sword because like there's always action. We're always moving and creating my own luck. But at the same time, it only gets you so far. And which is the reason why working with Cass has been a learning curve for me, right? A big lesson. And I've been trying my best to have this very open-minded to listen and to receive, trying to at the very least, right? And I acknowledge the fact that there's stuff that I can take up and learn to add to my tool belt. So then that way I can become a better leader as well. And yeah, I think I am learning a lot.
So what do you feel like you are doing differently this time from gearing up to raise versus the last time?
Man, there's so many different variables that was different. Number one being the market, right? The market is in a completely different state. The time that we were fundraising last time was at the beginning of the year. And this was when like the housing was collapsing, the interest rates are hiking up, employment rates are up, inflation's up, and just like it's like the doom gloom kind of everything. So no one really would be wanting to invest because everyone just wants to be able to like sit down, let the storm go through, and then they can be like, okay, you know what, perk up the ears and start hearing. Currently in this market, I feel like that the dark times have passed per se. Like we're kind of like settling into this groove, and the VCs would be much more likely to invest because they're like, okay, this is it. Let's see what the opportunities are. And they would be able to choose really quality projects and founders to invest in. And I think this puts us in a very good position because I know we're quality and I know that we have great traction and great product. And actually, speaking of product, this time around is very different from last time because last time when we were raising, there was no product. We were raising on a brand, creating a brand. And throughout the collective meetings that I've had and pitches that I've had, this was the number one thing that kind of popped into my mind was like, we're lacking a product that is scalable, lacking a product that has clear, direct revenue model. And that's really the reason what pushed us to create the Fund Pass, a scalable platform that has a very clear revenue model. And that's exactly what we've created and put into this deck this time.
I also think it is a bit of a process to let go of what you think traction is. And I've seen you had to, like, I've watched you from pitching round 1 versus pitching round 2. And, sometimes it's hard to let go of the accomplishments that you have in round 1. Like, for example, being able to have a partnership with Time Studio to build an animation. This new version that we're doing with the pitches, we've let go of all that. All those things we've let go of, and we were standing so high on those. But then you really need to think about anchoring it back to what is our purpose? What are our goals? Does these accomplishments really lift up the goals that we're looking for? If no, then let's strip it away and be more clear. But right now, like, I've seen you, and I don't know that you know that I've seen you in having to pull those part away, and everything that we've kind of stood up to show the traction, we had to let go and just really be refined, clear. And that is something that I don't know if you noticed that has been really material. And also a lot of, I don't know what the word is, but to be able to let go a bit of giving up a bit of our ego to redefine a new way.
I don't think there was part of ego that came into play when we were presenting with the previous traction. By the way, we had way more traction than that, than the animation with Tom.
No, I know. I'm just saying that as a big example that, right now in this pitch, we don't even reference.
Yeah. And like the 30 million in secondary sales that we have had, like all these.
Yeah, we don't even talk about it.
Zero. Yeah.
Which it is a process to get to, because not every, like, this is all great traction. You've worked on it, you put energy in it, you put time in it, and then to not use it to sell your product to investors, it's not easy.
Yeah, I think that another lesson that I've learned from last time around is how applicable are the traction in today's market, right? When you're in a bull market, everything was like super popping off and whatnot, then yeah, you're going to be able to get some really good results. But now that, the tide's out, we're in a different marketplace. Are you going to be able to replicate the same results? Right? And it took a lot of, I would say, intent and I think like a big credit due to you is like, hey, you know what? This is the product that we're building. This is what we're doing. And it really allowed me and us to focus on like, hey, what is a number that can uplift this product itself? Right. And fortunately, we were able to also attain some really nice and impressive stats since the beginning of our product as well. And I think that's something that we can continue to go out there and share. Now, having said that, just because the stat itself and the metric from before doesn't entirely parlay into the product that we have today, doesn't mean that we don't talk about what we have done in the past. Because when we're able to share how this current state of the product came to be through multiple different pivots and the stuff that we have learned to come to this place, is much more valuable than us having a thesis and just building this and attaining this result right away. Because through the learnings, you're going to be able to understand the market a lot more. Through the learnings, you're going to be able to know which direction not to head into. And I think that is a value for investors as well.
From a learning experience, yes. I don't. Yeah, I guess so. But I don't see it from what you mentioned that it wasn't part of the deck.
What do you mean?
Like you said. Never mind.
Sorry? What?
Nothing, never mind.
Yeah, I think like showing the learning process is important.
Yeah. Oh, I remember
What?
not putting it in the deck as clear as an important part. Like before, we centered everything around the traction that we have, and moving it over isn't that. To not have it, just to have it in your back pocket is fine.
Yes, in the back pocket is fine. Beautiful.
Yes,
that's it.
yes,
You're
yes.
confusing me. I'm like, oh my god, people are like, what are you talking about?
I'm confusing myself.
And I think after that it was great. The revision was great. Moving forward, now that we have our personal side, back in groove, we have tightened up our VIP experience. Now it's just full force into fundraising mode. And that's going to be really exciting because we have everything is better. We're doing fundraising 2.0. Yeah. So the strategy moving forward is we're refining our messaging, we're refining our emails and the outreach. The beautiful thing about this time is that we're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from scratch in terms of networking with VCs. Like I already have a bunch of VCs that we've been talking to and warm leads that we can actually poke. And from there onwards, we can get more introduction. Now, at the same time, we've also added more people to our list that we can reach out to, really fine tuning that. And
I feel like for me, I feel like for you, you're so like, okay, let's just get it going. But for me, I feel like I just need to dive into the details. And then when I look at your list, I'm like, we need to refine everything, put more intention behind everything. Even with the VC list, it was good, but it could, like the details in the who and getting the right people, and even the email, the intro email, I'm like, there's so much more intention that we can put behind it to gear up. And so I feel like that is something that we're changing for round 2.0.
Yeah.
The thoughtfulness behind it.
Refinement of our messaging. This is really good. Something that's exciting coming around the corner, aside from fundraising. Actually, to add to the fundraising, we are preparing to head to a big conference in Portugal in November. Still in the works, so we don't know if we're 100% going. However, because we were able to attain some really good, impressive results with this Fund Pass, our partners that we're building the tech on top, Near Foundation, was able to see this traction. And we're actually one of the top projects within their whole entire ecosystem. And we're like, wow. Like at one point we were on top of their most transacted volume for 3 consecutive weeks. And that turned a lot of heads internally within their foundation. And then they wanted to pour more resources, give us more opportunities. And that's the reason why they have invited us to their annual global conference, where their founder is going to be there, all their backers are going to be there, the developers are going to be there. And so it's going to be a big deal.
It is, yes. I have a different opinion on this.
Ooh, what is that? Watch what you say. Okay, we need funding. No,
well, the thing is, I think you said you're very much, this is a good business opportunity. For me, I'm looking at it as, I don't know that it would be as valuable for us, given that how they want us to be there. Like they want us to partake in a different way because we may have competing products. And for me, I don't feel like, do we want to spend the energy and time here to build it? Versus for you, you're looking at it from, this could be a business opportunity.
It is and let me elaborate more of why this is a great business opportunity. Any events that you end up going to, it's all about positioning and knowing who's who and being involved in the right conversation, in the right rooms. And every event that I've been to in the last 2-3 years in this industry, it has always been about getting into those doors and access.
I agree. And I think you can attend the event and you would still be able to get introduced and connected to those people, because who you are as the building the fun pass doesn't change your credibility in those conversations. However, my kind of disconnect is, how are we showing up at the event? Like, is how can we showcase what we do best when we're kind of highlighting different models of our product and not the full-fledged product?
That's why we need to design the experience, the full-fledged experience there, if we are confirmed to go. And like cost alone, we just budgeted it out. It's like $25K just to like send our guys there. So I mean, it's not a small investment. So that's kind of like why we're ironing out the details. But nonetheless, you know, being at event is having access to the closed rooms, and for us to get invited to this event, and I think it would open up a lot of doors. And you're right, like even though let's say if we're not preparing for an activation there, we'll still get access to those doors. We're still going to get connected with the right backers. But at the same time, when you have an activation, when people can see it, they can experience it and feel it, it's a night and day difference. It's a night and day difference.
I don't know. We can agree to disagree because they're experiencing a different version or product that we're actually selling. So that's where I'm like, maybe not.
Do you think that it's a better idea to just go and not participate in the activation and just go BD?
Depends what our objective is. If it's to network and BD, then yes, potentially, because people are still going to show, and we can show our product in a different way. But since we're still designing it right now, I don't feel like it necessarily translates quite fully quite yet.
Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. I think like having our presence there to showcase, you're gonna start creating your own luck, because you're there, because there's an experience. You're gonna be there
anyway. So if you were to BD,
but when you're at a conference and you have your own booth, you're gonna start attracting people who are floating around the booths.
But what if the booth wasn't really designed based on what we're attracting, because we can't showcase fully what we do?
We'll have to do our best to do that.
That means we'll update this progress as we move further along.
We'll see how this unfolds
to design this.
Yes. So yeah, it's very exciting. You know,
it is exciting. It is good news.
Yeah, super good news. Super good news.
And it's in Portugal, so who can complain?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Yeah. That's why in the latter half Q4 of 2023, it's going to be busy. Fundraising usually takes around 3 to 4 months of just nonstop going at it. And so we'll continue to keep you guys updated, show you guys more behind the scenes on how we're doing it. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of meltdown experiences where we're like, whoa, we're so close. And then yet we're so far. That's my emotional roller coaster for a good 3 to 4 months last time. But I'm glad that we're able to do this together. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
We'll just eat our way along Portugal.
So that's pretty much it for this week. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. We're continually changing things up. So then that way it becomes a little bit more entertaining, finding our groove. And by the way, big shout out to Josh sitting right there. Always being he's like our most critical coach and our producer, and has been integral in helping us craft this together. You know, we've actually tried this whole podcasting thing out for a good 10 episodes before this version, and
I think by the end of that version we didn't like each other very much.
Yeah, it was difficult. We were shooting it at home, by the way. Share a little bit more. We were shooting this whole podcast thing at home, and my whole motto is telling Cass, I'm like, yo, we shoot before we're ready. We act before we're ready, because it just pushes us into motion, and we can continue to revise. We can continue to find our groove and whatnot. So Cass was a trooper. She was like, okay, sure, let's do it. But every time,
Mind you, this is Sunday night after the kids are asleep at 8 p.m. I'm not gonna lie, the scenario wasn't
yeah, she doesn't.
enabling
She's
me.
not feeling it. She's not feeling it. But I'm like, you know what? Aside from us finding the little bit of slot of free time we have, we just don't have time. That's the only reason why we need to commit to a time where we both are going to be present. But nonetheless, after each episode or during every single episode, it's always like, this just doesn't feel good. There's just something that was mismatching in gear. And it's not like that Cass and I don't see eye to eye. Oftentimes we do. It's more about we're missing that gel.
The gel is Josh.
Hello. The gel is Josh. So ever since we started recording with Josh like 4 episodes ago, it's been a great experience. I think not only have we been able to find our groove, but slowly improving on how we communicate, how we can produce better, how we can convey our thought a little bit better in a more entertaining way, and also allowing us to be having this as our creative outlet. Yeah. So thank you, Josh.
Thanks,
Argel.
Josh.
Anyways, make sure you guys let us know. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
See you later.